Welcome back to the Optimize You podcast, the place where we're helping you optimize looking and feeling your best. If you enjoy the show, be sure to share it with a friend, like, and subscribe. And let's get into today's podcast.
Huge question that I've been just thinking a lot about recently is happiness or like joy? I don't even know if happiness is the right word for it. Maybe like, because happiness, I think, is maybe dependent on some different things, but like joy, like, is that a choice? Like, can you actually wake up in the morning and decide you're going to be full of joy? What are your thoughts?
It's a great question. It's got me thinking. Short answer, I'm going to say yes. I think so. I think there is a way. And the only reason I say that initially off the top of my head is because I think if we're deciding if joy is a choice, then that also means that the alternative, like not being joyful or being disappointed or being depressed, I think those things are also can be chosen as well. So I think if the alternatives can be chosen, then I think absolutely joy can be chosen as a choice. And the reason for that is because as I'm thinking through this in my own head now, I'm thinking of opportunities of like, man, have I been in situations where obviously when I don't feel joyful? Yeah. But have I been able to turn it around and like snap my fingers and be like, oh, all of a sudden I'm joyful? Maybe not that quick, but I have been able to. The stronger I am mentally and I put myself in the right positions, absolutely 100%. I've been able to take myself out of like dwelling, pity, cup is half empty versus half full approach mindset. So I'm going to say yes, but I like that we're talking and kind of rapping on this because I kind of want to dig deeper into it and figure out why, man. What about you? What do you think? You think it's a choice? You think joy is a choice, or do you think it's something that just happens? It's a certain amount of days and we get lucky?
Dude, no, I think it's 100% a choice. And I go through these waves of it. And the reason I say it's a choice, I've been in, dark points in my life, like more depressive states. And I think it's a lot of it when you kind of think back on it, it's like, oh, this is like, I'm keeping myself stuck here, right? I'm not choosing to do the things that make me feel good on a daily basis. I'm not choosing to interact with the people who maybe could help pull me out of one of these things. I'm not choosing to laugh or smile, because like in the end, if you like just decide to smile and like have fun and like not let stuff affect you, then all of a sudden like you're in a better state. Or like if you watch something that's like super funny, it can completely change your state. Or if you like call somebody who just you love and like it always like puts you in a good mood, can change your state. But a lot of times we kind of choose to just be stuck and we choose to just sit there like kind of almost like feel sorry for ourselves. It's like almost like a victim type mindset, I think. And it comes from me like thinking about like I've found myself sometimes in those states and I allow them to, I think, sometimes go a little bit longer than they need to when they don't even need to go long at all, where you can kind of just wake up, be like, you know what, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to smile. I'm going to think about how this could be my last day. It's like this, it's almost a frame. Because I did a little bit ago, I wrote down, I was like, what? Because I was curious. I was starting to think about these questions again, things that I've thought about in the past, where it's like success, like how do you define success? Because I think like sometimes we just start going through the motions of life and just not really thinking about some of these things. Oh, how do you define success? Oh, like joy, like how can I get more joy in my life? Like, is it something that I can, like, what things can I do throughout the day to create more joy? How can I think a little bit differently? What things can I think about when I wake up or during the day? And it's like, I was like, oh, I want to remind myself of that. Like, this could be my last day, right? It could be, who knows what the hell happens over the course of the day. We really don't know what's in store for us, but also like, it could be the last day of some of my loved ones, right? People that I'm interacting with, friends, family, whoever it may be. And then like, how would I approach those conversations differently if that were the potential case? And then it's like gratitude, right? It's like kind of having, like, how can I like think more about the things that I'm grateful for, right? And so like it's just like this laundry list of things that I put on just a sheet of paper and I put in my wallet, and I'm like, oh, this is something I can look at throughout the day to remind myself, because that's just, I think of, it's just not fun. Like, I want life to be more fun than I think it sometimes is for me. But I think a lot, like some of that is just, I just end up, I'm reacting, and I'm I'm not like choosing to approach the day with a certain mindset and a certain like do certain things. It's like you're just kind of going through the motions. And so I don't know, this kind of question sparked from that for me. But so I guess that's a long-winded answer of what my thoughts are on that.
No, but I mean, you brought up some great points. You talked about the actual actions that lead or potentially lead to joy. That wasn't something that I was initially thinking about. So that's very interesting, because you're thinking about like, okay, if I wake up today, I can choose gratitude, which then puts me in the correct mind state to act accordingly. And if I find myself being reactive in different scenarios from what you were talking about, like instead of being in that reactive state, let me reframe that. Let me look through a different lens. Let me approach my day as if it may potentially be my last or my loved one's last. Maybe it's their last day. Like, how would you approach the day? And immediately, like, I'm just putting myself in those shoes. I changed my entire perspective. It doesn't matter. Like all of a sudden you're able to drop and wash away like whatever little grudge you were holding or bad feeling that you had or emotional state that wasn't necessarily positive for you. You can kind of get rid of it immediately. So that's really, really cool. Like I hope people pick that up and take that as a gold nugget, because you were more so talking about the focus and the approach and the lens that we choose to look through the day will ultimately help you decide and dictate and kind of like almost block and deflect all these negative things that can happen to you, that victim mentality that we always talk about. Like, so that's really cool. I wasn't thinking it from that perspective, but that's absolutely correct. So then that brings me to the conclusion of yes, absolutely. From that perspective, it's 100% a choice. And so it reminded me of something that one of my coaches, my favorite coaches, always used to tell me is he'd always say, make it a great day. And like he said that on purpose. He's very like intentional with his wording, everything that he taught us as, you know, growing in to playing on the diamond to also being men off the field too. And so everything that he had like had extreme intentionality to it. And you may not have picked it up in the moment, but I mean, this guy was like, he'd be, you know, I had friends that saw him in the weight room at like 3:30 in the morning and would like tell stories. One of my teammates used to live with him temporarily because he had horrible family situations going on. And he'd be like, yeah, this guy'd go to the gym at like 3:30, our coach, and he have all these notes in his book, sticky notes, like highlighted everything. So he was just like a master at psychology. He just loved the whole art of psychology, but he would always say, make it a great day. And then finally it clicked one time. I was like, he never says have a great day. He always says make it a great day. And so that really stuck with me, meaning like be intentional about your day. Don't just go and like keep your fingers crossed and go, oh man, I hope I have a great day today. He's like, no, make sure that today is great and go about your business today, and every interaction that you have, any, you know, conversation, anything that you do, any decision you make, any reactionary decision that you make sure all that stuff's premeditated. You understand what kind of demeanor you want to carry yourself with, and you can literally make your day great. And so I think that's huge. Yeah, it's absolutely 100% choice. And I love that you brought up the activities or the actions that are associated with that. Essentially, if you put your, you know, right foot in front and you kind of catch that momentum and you're looking through the right lens, all those activities essentially do lead to being joyful. So yeah, it is a choice. I love that, man.
Oh, dude, and you think about like even like the health and fitness stuff go a long way. It's like moving can go a long way towards like, because if you feel better, then you're gonna naturally be joyful. So it's like, oh, if I'm eating better nutritionally, probably gonna be in a more joyous state. If I'm drinking more water, if I'm, you know, stretching, if I'm getting workouts in, all these different things, they can lead to that. So it's like these actions, but it's also about how we choose to be mentally, how the things we decide to focusing on the positives, focusing on what you're grateful for, the people we spend our time with. I think we've talked about this many times before, but I think some of the times for me when I've been in maybe darker places in my life, I tend to isolate more, right? Mm-hmm. When really the way to get yourself out of that, I think, is by doing the opposite, getting out more, talking with more people, but more or less like seeking out those people that really, you know, that you just light up around, because everybody has those people where it's like, you're just like, you can't not be happy around this person. They brighten your day. You have so much fun, whatever it may be. And so I think as simple as having those people that you conversate with on a daily basis, whether that's on the phone, FaceTime, in person, that really just help you as well become more joyful. Because, you know, a lot of times what I found is like that, I did a lot of research on happiness for a while, if you remember that, when I was going through that period of time where I was like trying to do like a ton of research on happiness and articles and different things that contribute to it. And connection was like the number one far and away thing that leads to more happiness and joy in people's life. It's who you surround yourself with. Right. And so I think that's a huge thing of pulling yourself out. Like if you're right now listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm in a dark place, or I'm not feeling as good about myself, maybe a little depressed, whatever it may be. I think that that's a good first step, even is just to figure out, maybe write a list of some of the people that you love chatting with, that you don't chat with enough. Set up some coffee dates, or just to some different ways that you can get in touch with people in person, over the phone, on FaceTime. And that's a great way to like keep yourself in a good place too. Like I know that I love talking, like when I talk with Marissa more, like that's like when I'm talking with her, like it changes my state, right? And then there's other people as well, like certain friends and my parents, and it's just really, it's nice to chat with them. So it's being more intentional with the day in that sense too, I think can be really helpful.
Yeah, 100%. So who you surround yourself with, I think is going to have a huge impact on it. I also think something that works for me personally is I truly believe that even if you're in a dark spot and you're like, man, I feel like there is no joy, and you tend to see the negative in everything. I look at it from the perspective of each and every single one of us has some sort of value to bring to a certain type of crowd, even if it's small. Maybe it's just one person. Maybe it's a massive crowd of people. Maybe it's a smaller niche market. Maybe it's just one person who has something that you are able to deliver, some sort of value, shape, form, whatever it is. Others can probably possess different levels of value, and others maybe a lot less. But I think everybody has their own unique value opportunity that they can give. And one thing that was explained to me is oftentimes when you find yourself in those like dark moments where you like, I can't see joy. There is no joy. I'm not happy about anything. Like everything sucks. And you tend to be in this pessimistic mindset. It's usually because you're looking for somebody, something, or circumstance to give to you, right? You're looking for it. Like, where is this joy? I don't see it. Like somebody needs to come by and give it to me. Somebody needs to make me happy or make me laugh, or like, otherwise I'm going to continue to be miserable. Versus when you flip it and you go, I'm going to bring joy to other people. I'm going to find ways to give. I'm going to try to give value in some way, shape, or form. I've been gifted with something. If I'm not quite sure what it is, it's probably the thing that you're natural at, that you look at other people that you're like, you don't get that? Like you're stupid. That's easy. That's probably your gift, because it doesn't come easy to other people. So if you're trying to figure out what your gift is, I'm sure hopefully you've been in that scenario where like, they don't get that. Like I could do this in my sleep. That's the thing you're probably gifted at, and see if you can give that to other people. And just by doing that, by providing value to other people, you're going to start experiencing joy a lot more, because it feels better to know that you can light somebody else up, and you're not so focused on you, inside your internals and what's going on with you and what's going wrong. Another thing too, an interesting point I heard the other day, I don't know who the lady was, but she's very popular. She's wrote a book on, I forget the exact topic, but she was on Joe Rogan, and they were talking like, she had mentioned, I think in one of the first excerpts of her book, of the problem with problems is you giving it energy and attention. Basically your ability to focus on the problem, like going, man, let's dissect this. Let's go to therapy for it. Not saying therapy is bad, but like you just marinate on the problem so much that you give it energy and you give it power. Versus her perspective is like, don't give it any more energy than it deserves. Like quit focusing on it, like shift gears, focus on something else. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. So that could be an alternative as well to some people out there.
Yeah, I love that. And I just to add on to the giving as well, which I think is a great one. Even if you're not giving based on like a strength of yours, you could get out and just like give your time and volunteer as well. I know for me, that's something I've actually gotten away from since I moved down here. I did it for a little while, but I've definitely gotten away from that. And that was something I would like intentionally do monthly that was really beneficial towards, I mean, just you're doing a good thing for a good cause, but also just the way you feel when you give back in that way too, to people that are maybe less fortunate or whatever it may be, is a huge thing. So I would challenge people out there too, that's a great thing you can do. Take 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours of your time, like once a month even, just to give back to a good cause in your area, whether that's like a food shelf or, there's a ton of different types of things that you can volunteer at. And then when you're talking about the lady that was on Joe Rogan, made me think about that podcast I sent you on stress a little while back, and
Mm-hmm.
how, like, you were talking about focusing on the how she's like, when you focus on the problem, it you just present someone like what we kind of focus on there just continues to see. So if you can shift your focus, but that guy, I forgot what his name was, who had the podcast, is on Modern Wisdom, Chris Williamson's podcast. For anybody out
Yeah.
there who doesn't listen to that one, that's a really good one. He's a great interviewer and has some really awesome guests on. But he had talked about stress and how, like, more of like your mind, when you start to, like, we go down these negative feedback loops of just focusing on the negatives in situations. And he had talked about what he has done to train his brain and to basically flip it around, is that every time he thinks of a negative thing, he finds 9 positives. Right. And so, like, over the course of time, you start to condition your brain, like, right away when it finds a negative, it's going to start to think of the positives in the situation. And so I think that was like a really good thing that's along those same lines as well, where it's like, you focus on a problem, you're going to get more of the same kind of problem. You focus on, once your mind starts going to a negative or a problem, now maybe your brain starts focusing on a solution or a positive alongside of it. And boom, like, before you know it, you're in just a completely different shifted mindset.
Yeah, Mo Gaudat. I'm not sure
There
if I'm
you go.
pronouncing that correctly. GAWDAT, episode 788 on Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom. Yeah, that's the one
Yep.
you sent me, dude. That was awesome. And so I think what he talks about in there too. I think it's one of those things where, just like anything, we talk about the gym a lot and health and fitness, and it's through repetition, it's through experience, it's through getting those reps underneath your belt. I always talk to my clients about it. A perfect, very common transition that I see with people that enter my program is their anxiety and stress around something like traveling, or when they have something coming up and they're like, oh man, I'm going to get out of my routine. I'm not quite sure what to do. And I always have the conversation with them. I've created modules around this, training modules for my clients when they come into the program. Hey, watch this module, go through it. If you have any questions after, let me know. But essentially, condensed version in a nutshell is, look at it as an opportunity for practice. That's all we're doing. It's practice. And I think people think every scenario is like game day. This is the championship. It's pass or fail. If I screw up, the whole season's over. They're like putting everything on the line right now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just practice. We're just getting repetitions on. We have to develop the skill. We have to do things like, if we want to do like what you were talking about, and choosing to be grateful, choosing to look and view through a lens of optimistically in every scenario that happens to us, we have to have some sort of level of repetition there, and to develop that skill. It is a skill. We can't just all of a sudden go from somebody who's like a grump, Mr. Scrooge, sees negative in everything, and then all of a sudden snap our fingers and go, oh, I'm so joyful and I experience joy every single day. It's like, it's not just a hard transition there. It's going to take repetitions. It's going to take practice. It's going to take imperfect action. It's going to take scraping your knees in the process. But I think it's that moving the ball, getting the momentum going, rolling it in the right direction, knowing it's not going to be perfect. There was a quote today. I wish I could remember it. I actually jotted it down in my journal. I'll look it up here in a second, but it was something along the lines of, it's not about like how big of the step you take. It's about the momentum that you're creating, or the movement itself, than it is the size of the step. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like the analogy when a car breaks down, the first initial starting, when you get behind a car and you're trying to push a car that's broken down and it's just in neutral, that first getting it rolling is the hardest part. Like, you may need some help, right? You may need a couple people to get behind the car to start pushing it. But once it's going, keep it rolling. And that even if it's slow, if it's fast, it doesn't matter, but just don't let it stop. And I think that's the same thing with developing any skill. In this case, we happen to be talking about joy, but I think it's just practice. Think of it instead of thinking it's a championship game and everything's on the line, and if you don't do it correctly, like the whole season's over. Instead of that, it's just a practice. Nobody's watching, right? It's just an opportunity to get repetitions in, sharpen the axe, develop the skill time and time again. And just like anything, the more reps you put in, the better you're going to get at it. It's literally develop of any type of skill. It doesn't matter what it is. But I think joy is no different. Experiencing joy, putting yourself in the correct mindset to look and make it a choice, like we're talking about, instead of, woe is me, this sucks, it always happens to me. It goes back to what we were just talking about. If you think like that, all you're doing is giving those thoughts more energy, just like we were talking about that, like that lady was talking about. She's absolutely correct. If I think there's no opportunity for the town that I'm living in, and I have a pessimistic outlook on it, and I feel like there's no networking capabilities, then of course I'm gonna find exactly what I'm looking for. And if that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I uh, proclaim to be like the true reality, then of course I'm gonna see more of that. However, if I'm like, man, you know what? I bet you there is more opportunity here. I just got to get out and have more conversations with people. I gotta meet different people. I got to do some networking. I got to go to different gyms. I got, like, all of a sudden, now that I'm looking for that, those things start to come about because I'm giving it and fueling it energy, and I can experience more joy. I can experience more happiness versus like negative, not there, dark and gloomy. This sucks. There's no opportunity. Networking here's terrible. I got to move. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you just fuel your own fire. So I think it's very interesting. The perspective that we choose to look through can ultimately determine how we experience joy, the amount of joy we experience, and our overall day to day basis.
Yeah, man, and I love everything that you just said right there. And what I would just kind of say to finish up is like for anyone out there that that's looking to develop some more joy in their life, and this is coming from somebody who's just kind of working through this and is just like thinking about this question. But I would just challenge you to think about like what actions you want, like what actions lead you to feeling your best and leading you to joy. Like who are the people in your life that when you talk with them or meet with them or whatever it may be, that they allow you to feel more joy, or you just it's such a better mindset and mood when you're around them. Other things are like, how do you want to think? Like, what things do you want to focus on? Is it the positives, what you're grateful for? The fact that life's short and you don't know how much more time you have left. Like, all these things are good things to ask yourself. Write them down. Put them on a computer, whatever it may be, and then think about those things and try to develop a lifestyle and a day and a week around those things. And I guarantee you that you're going to start to feel more joy in your life.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I think if you are looking through the lens of nothing is joyous for you, happy is hard to come by, everything wrong that could possibly happen in a day is happening to me, I want you to remember, and I'm going to encourage you, that you have more of a choice than you actually think. If you have some intentionality there, you can choose how you want to operate on your day. And it starts with the morning. Have a great morning routine, have something that'll set the tone for your day. We always encourage you to move early and move often. That'll also help set the trajectory of your day. But just understand you have more of a choice than you think you do. The day's not just happening to you. You can actually run your day. So if this was helpful for you, we got a lot of gems in here. Hopefully you got to take a golden nugget from here or two. We encourage you guys, like always, to share it with a friend, a family member, somebody who is close to you, who you feel like could benefit from it. That's all that we ask. We're releasing episodes, at least 1 to 2 each and every single week on different topics. If you guys want to hear a specific topic, always shoot us a comment, a message, an email, anything. And then that way we will potentially put your topic on one of our shows in the future. So we love hearing from you guys. Until our next time, take care.
Thanks, everybody.